Welcome to the Soul Led Revolution with me, your host, Yolandi Boshoff, and I'm very excited today to introduce you to an epic human for who I just have so much love. So this is my dear friend, and she's also been my coach and my teacher. Her name is Noha Essop, and she is a spiritual coach, a healer, and she's all about soul liberation. So I just want to welcome you to our show today, Noha, and please tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome, babe.
Oh, thank you, honey. It's lovely to be here and to see you in this format again. Yeah, a little bit about me. What is there to be? I'm just a truth seeker, I guess. And I get to realize that everyone, each and every individual's truth is different. The pathway to which we get there is unique to each individual. But one thing that remains standard is to be able to face ourselves every day and to face the shadow and the light side of us in order to make sense of our very way of being here in this world. And yeah, I believe that we are source beings, and that we are imbibed and imbued with source energy, and that our role here is literally to unveil ourselves, to reveal more of that. And that, in fact, is our truth. I've been on this journey for a number of years, many years of which I would want to have forgotten, particularly as a kid. Is that times where you're having all of these experiences, but you don't want to let on that you're having all of these experiences. But doing this work officially, I think I've been in I've been in entrepreneurship now for almost 16 years, and doing this type of spiritual work probably in the last 8 years. And I'm, of course, from your hometown, Cape Town, South Africa. Maybe then that's why we sound nearly similar. So yeah, I guess that's just a little bit about me.
Okay, and so we were chatting before we started the interview today, and we were speaking about the word soul liberation. So I want you to tell me a little bit, because that's your vibe, right? It's all about soul liberation. So what does that mean? Because the show is obviously about soul-led entrepreneurs, soul-led people that I'm speaking to. You're definitely one of those. You've inspired me to connect deeper to my own soul as well and see the truth of myself. So for me, I do see you as someone leading a bit of a liberation here. So tell me, what does it mean? What does it mean to you?
I think maybe a very short backstory would explain a bit more about this. There was a time, I think it was last year, that I went through quite a tumultuous time, and it was really a make or break situation, that I felt that my reputation would be, to pieces. My financial existence would be, in pieces, and a whole bunch of other things. And there was a moment in that experience, while journaling and while facing my shadow on this entire experience, where I got to realize that when I am sitting in worry, when I am sitting in the search or the need for validation from the outside, then I am being held hostage by someone outside of myself, and probably by many others, right? When I am overly concerned with how what I say is going to land, and if it's going to land appropriately for someone else, then I'm not free. And when I realized that actually I no longer care whether I lose my reputation, whether I lose what I've built, whether I lose, I gave up the need to hold on to anything. And in that moment, I realized that this was the grandest and the most grandiose freedom I could ever feel. And that for me was when my heart exploded. And I could only explain that as soul liberation. And ever since then, I've been working on, just small little fibs, untruths, inauthenticities that I have taken on to be a savior to others, right? To be a Samaritan for others, most likely under the assumption that they couldn't do it for themselves, which is bullshit. We we all are God spark, right? We all are
Yeah.
source spark, and so therefore we have everything within us. And so I've just taken on this journey of being, what is the truest version of myself? And in some cases, like my poor husband has bear the brunt of it sometimes, because there's certain things that maybe I said right at the beginning of our 20-year relationship that I no longer agree with. And then I say, ask me that question again, man. That one that you asked 20 years ago, you know? And he says, why? I said, just ask, just ask, just ask. Then he asks, and then I said, no. I said, when I said yes, I felt I was under duress and I was doing the right thing. But my soul's truth is that the actual answer is no. And I needed to correct that in my soul contract. Right. And that's been the path of liberation. Every ounce of being and knowing, how can I be truer to myself daily? Because that journey of being truer is the journey towards, resting and being deeper and deeper into my soul's truth.
I
And that's
love that.
liberating.
It feels so freeing, doesn't it? It's just
Yeah.
like it's literally like taking all the shit that you've accumulated and just going like piece by piece by piece.
Yeah.
And I think it's, for me, it's so beautiful because it feels like it's like this soul liberation is happening all over for so many people, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like we've entered this time period now where we're literally going, boom, you have to sort your shit out, you have to
Yeah.
start living.
Yes.
So, like from your perspective, like to anyone like listening today, watching, I mean, where did you start? Like, because people go, well, I don't even know where to start. Like, this is such a big task, right? Like, I need to find myself now. So, like, what did it? Like, how did you get to this point where you're feeling so liberated within yourself? Or what made it happen? What's your thing?
I think, part, in the introduction, I said that I'm just a truth seeker. I think that is an innate curiosity within me. Then if something intrigues me, I want to know more,
Mm.
right? If something pisses me off, I want to understand why, right? Because again, I understand that nothing is ever in isolation and nothing is ever, inherently here to harm or do me in, right? There's always a lesson in it, and that lesson is the golden nugget for life. But so that I had that curiosity as a kid, right?
Mm.
I literally feel that I've been birthed into this world for exactly that. Um, so that's always been a curiosity of mine. But I started from an early age, like in my mid early 20s, and started learning, you know, Joseph De Silva's work, John Keogh's work, trying to understand the mind, because I thought that the answers were all in the mind. And in part, in small part, they are, but you haven't touched the flippin' well of what's available. And I
Yes.
think, it was John DeMartini's work that really started, kind of dropping me further into my heart. And then a whole bunch of other teachers until I had to look at myself squarely from a religious perspective, because like you and I, we have a kind of similar but opposing backgrounds. I am born and raised in an Islamic background, and there were certain things that I was taught that I was like, that don't feel right. But I know reason of understanding why it didn't feel
Oh.
right. So it took me a lot of time out of my life, which I'm deeply grateful for, to dissect that, right? To pick it apart and say, I know that the God that I espouse to is love.
Mhm.
I need to prove that to myself, right? There is no fear to be had. There is no dogma to be had. There is no, boxes to be had, because, and I miraculously, well, not miraculously, because fuck, I worked hard at it. I found it. I found all the ways in which, this, it all just came together, right? And this journey of soul liberation has been about just the daily occurrence of being in my heightened state of awareness, to be present. And instead of to force life, instead of to want to make shit happen, I'm a huge advocate of allowing life to happen, to make things welcome. Because when I make things welcome, I am allowing myself to be source led. I am allowing myself to be moved by the universe, and therefore to be allowing the universe to move through me. And I become the representation of the universe in motion.
I love
And
that.
yeah.
Sure. So, and I mean, just as you were saying that now, because I think like what I've been noticing and just seeing around me is like these ways that we're following the old ways of being because it's almost like we're too scared to listen to that voice. And then when you were saying about like the universe moving through you and like the way that you live is like you allow yourself to be moved. And I was just now thinking about like, the entrepreneurs like us, like how we used to be in the olden days where we tried the formulas and we tried all the stuff and we had like all the step 1, step 2, step 3, and just how that evolution that I've seen within you and your work over the years about like how you've allowed yourself to be moved as well. And I think that this for me speaks to the trusting. And I want to speak a little bit about trust with you because like where did that trust, like how did it happen? Like how did you allow yourself to trust in that feeling of being moved versus, oh, I need to follow the rules and do things that's in the boxes?
So interestingly enough, and it's going to sound strange, science taught me to trust.
Oh, I love that. Ooh, tell me
So,
more.
so I, I've always been a student, right?
Yeah.
And I will be a student until the day I die, and probably the next lifetime again.
I'll see you again. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, I see you, right? And the student in me is what brings out the teacher in me, because the teacher is how I learn, right? Science taught me to trust because there were science taught me synchronicity. Science taught me to see the order in the chaos. Science taught me to be able to know when I am not in an equilibrated state within my mind and therefore cannot access my heart, right?
Sure. Okay.
So if we all, and we can never forgo the mind, because it is how we perceive this world. It's how we live in this third dimensional world. We are we are constantly seeing with our eyes and and feeling and all of those different, perceptions that we have. But everything that we are experiencing is a perception, and that perception has a you know an emotional uh, ricochet or impact on us. And if we don't like the way we feel, right, it's not just about changing the feeling, it's about how do I change the feeling. I need to know then in the first instance that if I'm feeling a particular way, then I may not be in a state of balance. I may not be in a state of equilibrium. And for that, it might just mean that I'm only seeing one side of a particular thing instead of both sides of a particular thing. Because, as John DeMartini will always say, love is the synthesis of two equal opposites. It is exactly in the center. It is the state of equilibrium. It's also the state of grace, the state of gratitude, right? Gratitude encompasses both sides. It's not just when shit goes fucking hunky-dory in your life. It's the other side as well.
Yeah.
So I learned to trust the universal flow in when I see that something kind of triggers me, I start laughing or start smiling already, because I'm like, okay, here's something to work on, right? Where does that come from? I have a lopsided perception then, right? Which means that there's another opportunity for me to move up on the quantum ladder, which is my evolution, right? So I get to understand how the quantum works from equal opposites, and and which is, you know, our third dimensional duality. But when I equilibrate that, I get to experience the essence of oneness.
Yeah.
And so there's always something greater for me at the end when I do the work to face myself. And I have found that when I am wanting to, you know, make shit happen, and I mean, as a business owner, you wanna, you wanna, I'm gonna create this, and I'm gonna force this, and I'm gonna put this out, and all of that jazz. It never gave me the results the same way as when I sat down and said, right, I'm open.
Yeah.
Right? Where do you want me next? Right? One of the things that I've recently started doing, and I wrote about this extensively on social media, is that I do something that I term as a radical surrender, right? And because trust and surrender goes together,
Yeah.
right? They are cousin sisters. And radical surrender to me is, you know, we often used to do this thing where we do something and then we get to a certain point where we figured, okay, we've done enough now in our physical experience. Now we're
Yeah.
going to hand it over to the universe for it to do the rest, right? But why are we waiting until we have done everything? Why is there a certain point on the timeline of our projects or experiences that we only then hand over? Why isn't it a daily occurrence? Right? So for me, I now wake up and I use the Arabic words because it's one of my favorite prayers, which is Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik. Translated, it means, oh Lord, I am here. I'm here at your service. So for me, it's a heart opening experience of I'm here. Show me where you need me to go. Right? Because I know that the universal source plan is far greater than what my limited mind can conjure up. My limited mind has got filters on it, and it's filters based on, you know, my traumas, my experiences, my programming, and all of those type of things. Whereas my soul does not have those filters. It is swimming in the quantum soup, as Deepak Chopra would say, right? And so I'm just gonna put on my flippers and say, hey, I'm swimming too. You know, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. So
Oh,
yeah,
I love that. Oh my God. And it's so beautiful because it's, and when even as you speak, it's just like my whole heart's going, you know, when you feel all melty and you just like,
yeah,
it's all we need to do. Like we literally just need to go, I'm here, right? Like,
yeah,
and I think it's so many of us, and I mean I speak for myself. It's just like you basically here in this space because you want to serve, but you also want to be in that, like you say, the equilibrium of not feeling I have to do it, but I want to do it. And like, you know, there's that, like
mm,
that's almost, the word isn't struggle that I'm looking for, but it's almost like, yo, I want to feel a bit into that because there's this whole thing about like as healers, and I know you're a healer as well and stuff, and like as coaches and stuff, we kind of have this like we feel like we need to save the world, right? And I
mm,
know I've worked through that and I've worked through it with you as well. You've taught me a lot
mm,
about that. So let's quickly speak a little bit about that because your whole attitude of serving is so beautiful, where you're just basically allowing yourself to be led to where you need to go.
yeah,
And where I feel like sometimes when we're in that space of being healers and stuff, we again like, I have to go save the world. So
mm,
speak to me a little bit about that and like maybe just some insights into that, because I think it's when we can start shifting our perceptions around it, like you say, and getting
yeah.
to that space of love, it makes a huge difference.
Look at that. When it comes to wanting to save the world, we have to self check. For those of us who wants to save others, we have to self check,
Yeah.
right? Because just in that statement in and of itself, there's a perception that we have that others can't save themselves. How dare we? How fucking dare we? right? How dare we perceive someone else who is also source-led, who is also God's spark, who is also the universe in ecstatic motion, as Rumi said, and assume that they cannot save themselves. It is
Beautiful.
our job to inspire others to get ready for their journey.
Mm.
It is not our job to want to save others, because the other side of that also is when you start to save someone, they are always going to need to be saved because you are creating a behavior pattern within them. By the same token, we also again have to self-check and say, what is it within me that feels the need that I need to save others? Because there's a shadow aspect that needs to be dealt with there.
Yeah.
If I feel the need to be saving others, why am I deflecting? Am I, there could be a myriad of reasons, but I know that when I used to do that, it was more a case of I felt the need that either I wasn't saved at the times when I felt I should have been saved, which is a bullshit perception, by the way, because there was both sides,
Yeah.
right?
Again.
Again, or am I feeling the need to be validated, felt worthy when I save someone else,
Yeah.
right? Our job is to be on this, on whichever little dune or peak we are on, and inspire people to want to rise up. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't help people.
Mm.
Helping and saving are two different things. As healers, as coaches, our jobs is to be guides. We are guides to awaken what is already true for someone within themselves. We have everything that we possibly could ever need within us. Our job as the healers and the way showers and the light workers in this world is to help someone recognize that within themselves. And by recognizing that, it's a state of remembrance. We are here to be mirror reflections for someone to remember who they are.
Sure. Yeah.
So yes, we will have, from time to time, some form of teaching, some process, some, belief changes, some, energy work, energy healing in order to assist in those type of things. But we need to be mindful of never creating a dependency on a dependency for others to be saved and for us to be saviors. It's a God complex that no, hey?
I love that. I just love how you like describe that as well. I mean, it's always like when I listen to you, I'm just like, I could just sit here for like 5 hours. So like, please go follow Noha because she does a lot of talking on the internet. It is really
Yeah.
cool. It's literally inspiring, as you can see. Okay, so the one other thing that's just popped into my brain now is I want to speak to you a bit about like energy and like your feeling around energy work and like our energy in the world, just to I just like to pick your brain a little bit about like how you feel about that.
Yeah, so there's a combination again of science and spirit going on there. So, and science just gives me the opportunity to break shit down,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Like one of the first things, especially when I talk to kids, sometimes they understand an electric circuit, for example, and so I can explain how that works within them and how that works outside of them, and how energy, we have the space between us is not empty. Yeah, it's filled. It's literally filled with energy, right? And because that space is so filled and so connected to us, we can touch one piece of, or one atom of energy, and it's touching another and another and another. And this is how you and I get to be connected so far away from each other, and be in the same, and I use this in inverted commas, space, because again, this is how energy transcends space, right? And it transcends time. Um, Energy for me is, in lucid terms, I would call it that vibe, right? It's that vibe.
Sounds
But
trendy.
yeah, right. The trend is to say it's a vibe. But energy for me is something that often speaks louder than the words that we speak. It speaks louder than the attributes that we want to portray in the world, or the accolades that we want to put out into the world, right? Just go and look, and this is, and we were chatting about this before we started this interview, that I don't feel the need to be telling people that I'm the best shit since sliced bread as far as a healer is for them, right? Because there must be resonance. There must be an energetic exchange between us, right? And that energetic exchange is not only that, oh, you give me said monetary value and I give you said service. It's not just that. The energy exchange is then, and we all know, we don't often speak about this, and damn it, we should really be talking more about it, that each and every one of our clients is a mirror for us as well. Not just on something that we experienced in the past, but something that we may need to close off at this point. And as we grow and evolve, so too does our sessions with our clients change and evolve.
Yeah.
I'm now finding that my coaching sessions is more a space to just be holding the energy, right? And just to be sitting there and saying, talk to me about that. My job is to help people hear themselves.
Yeah.
My job has become to help people hear their own truth from themselves, from within themselves. And I create a safe space for them to speak what they wouldn't otherwise be able to speak outside there. So that energy exchange has to be there. And we are, and I hate to use this word, but we are governed by it. We are moved by it. We are filled by it. We are expressed through it, right? It's literally everything. And it is never ending. It is infinite. And this, I think, and I think you and I understand the world this way as well, and understand, human beingness this way. Science very clearly says energy cannot be created, neither can it be destroyed. It can only change form, and it can expand, right? Dude, when we die, we just changing form.
Yeah.
Right? And that's it. This is a transitory experience,
Yes.
a playground for us to become better energetic and spiritual beings.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
So yeah.
energy, I love it. That is so amazing. So, and I just think, oh, it's like having worked with you as well, and I just want to, just from that, like that coaching space, because it was always so annoying for me, like working with you, because you'd just be like, so tell me a bit about that, and then I'd be like, fuck, how did she know this? And then go down the and you know what I really appreciate as well, and I think this is also something, it's like when as coaches, as healers and stuff, like that, like ability to connect to your intuition and just to feel, and like when that moment comes and things like flicker up, like for me that's so important, because I think a lot of time, especially when people start out and they're studying all the modules and stuff, and they're thinking, oh, step 1, step 2, step 3, and it's, I think the more you do this work, the more you start like working with your intuition. And
Yeah.
so just as a last question here, so in terms of your intuition and like having, obviously, like I don't know how long you've been working with your intuition, but just what would your advice be to anyone listening in terms of like starting to tune into your intuition? Like how can you get there? How can you start connecting more deeply with that side? Because that is really something, again, that leads and guides us.
Yeah. I think in this day and age, we all need to start recognizing and acknowledge that we need a spiritual practice, right? That's
Yep.
first and foremost. But I do want to disclaim very, very clearly that no two people's spiritual practice is the same. No two people meditate the same way. No two people do breath work the same way. You could be dancing to rock music for all I care, and it is your meditative state if you see it so, right? And also that we perceive that every day needs to be the exact same spiritual practice because that's the discipline that we must create. And I'm like, that's a bit fucking boring, don't you think? Right? look, I'm all for the zest of life, eh? And so the first thing for me is that yes, there's a spiritual practice that is required in order for us to be able to be available to our intuition. Our intuition is always there,
Mm.
right? It's always there. But those soul whispers, as I'd like to call them, is only going to arrive when you are making yourself available to hear it. And that is to increase our awareness, right? So I always like saying to people, we all overthink. We
Mm.
are consummate overthinkers. One of the highlights of my life, very early on, from a kid age already, was to journal. Because what that does is it takes the overthinking out of our heads and it physically plants it in front of us. And so now all of a sudden we feel disconnected to the problem and therefore objective of the problem,
Mm.
right? But your intuition can also get heightened through your writing,
Mm.
right? I mean, you and I both know this. Your intuition can get heightened through your writing. It gets heightened through your breathing. It gets heightened through your prayers. It gets heightened through just be sitting in silence or dancing or walking or whatever. But one thing that our intuition is going to require is for you to act on it.
Mm.
More often than not, people who have their very first encounters with their intuition, they doubt it, right? They
Yeah.
cast it aside as like, oh no, that was just me. It was just me thinking. That's just my mind wandering, you know?
Mm.
The only way you're ever going to know to learn to start trusting it is to act on it,
Mm.
is to talk back. It's to ask the next question. It's
Yeah.
to, ask for the sign and be giddish like a kid when you actually get the very clear sign.
Yes.
After a while, your intuition becomes part of who you are, that it no longer is something separate to you. It's
Mm.
no longer a moment when it needs to arrive. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go and sit in meditation so that I can speak to my intuition.
Mm.
No, my intuition is with me. It's going to speak to me when I'm driving the car, when I'm doing shopping, when I'm having sushi with my best friend. It's just what's going to happen,
Yeah.
right? And that is this is, you talking about coaches now and us as coaches using our intuition as well. This was one of the first things that I taught in my NLP class. I mean, you studied with me, because one of the things that I never wanted any one of my students to do was to feel that there was rigidity in any one human being's healing.
Mm.
There is no rigidity. Every human being is different. And so, no, don't come to me and say, oh, I'm going to do the swish pattern on this client because they presented me with this bullshit.
Mm.
You sit with your client. You tap into your intuition and ask your higher self what is best for my
Mm.
client.
Mm.
And sometimes you'll get an answer that it's not one particular process, it's a combination of a few different things minus a few other things. And it feels as if you're making it up as you're going along, but
Yes.
you're not. You're not. You're just being true to the essence of yourself and your client. So yeah, and I do this in my retreats. I mean, the retreats are really my first love. So
Mm.
it's the space in which I come alive. Um, honestly, uh, it gives me the opportunity to do and be everything that I want to express in one particular space.
Mm.
And that's the first thing that I ask for people. It's like I've given you and my itineraries are always draft, right? It never comes out of draft because I ask for permission to go
Yeah.
where I need to go, to
Yes.
say what I need to say, to express what is coming through me to be expressed. And because I'm always working with people that are so deeply aligned to me, there's there's always a yes when I ask that question, when I ask that permission.
Mm.
So yeah, intuition is just, it's a beautiful compass,
Mm. I
really.
love it.
A soul
Oh
compass.
man. Okay, so that was incredible. Thank you so much. I really I'm so happy we got to speak today. And it's just like all this stuff is just so juicy, isn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
so tell the people where they can get hold of you, follow you, check out your work. Where are you on the world of social media?
Yeah, in the world of social media, I'm on Instagram, noha.essop, or Noha Spiritual Coach. I am on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, although like who uses these things these days? But anyway, it's Noha Essop Conscious Maverick, because Facebook still doesn't want me to take out the Conscious Maverick title. But anyway, it's still there. And then I have a very vibrant group that I do a teaching in every week, every Tuesday at 12 p.m. GMT plus 2. And that group is called the Sacred Collective. It's literally just my way of giving back. It's my way of doing what I love, right? And what I love to do is to speak and to teach. And I give myself an opportunity to do that every Tuesday in the Sacred Collective. And of course, at the same time, I get to serve so many people that have questions. So it's a lovely tight knit community, and yeah, feel free to join
Yes,
anytime.
definitely. And just, yeah, Noah's writing as well is just epic. So, yeah, and thank you just for being you and for everything that you are putting out into the world, and for all that beautiful light and love and awesomeness that you just share with everyone as you go through this world space.
Oh,
So, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. And I hope you guys enjoyed this like amazing chat and the rabbit holes. So have a great day. Thanks, Noah.
thank you, my love.